Hello, welcome to Tempo Labs. This will be an overview of the Tempo Labs application. As we begin, we can see that there are 3 routes to be able to start our project. We can either generate an app from a prompt, we can connect to an existing GitHub repo, or we can design on a blank canvas as you would with your favorite design tool. So in this instance, we will start with a prompt. We can build a landing page for a real estate platform. So as soon as we hit generate, the first thing we should see is the PRD. The PRD is a brief for the general application or the website that we're building. Beyond the initial generation, it's optional if you want to change the PRD, which you can do through the AI chat, but it's just mainly to help your team stay organized and focused on the end goal, especially in a larger group kind of context. Right below that, if we enlarge this, you can see a mermaid diagram explaining the user flow that the PRD basically informed. So now we can switch to the design tab. As you can see, most of our wireframes are being generated as we speak. Alright, so it seems like our wireframe has given us a pretty good starting point. This is our initial storyboard. Just wanted to point out that we also have a styling panel like you would find in a traditional design tool, but more on that later. Before we dive into our project, let's just take a look at the other parts of our application. So to begin with, by default, we have our AI chat opened. This has the context of all the code in the code base, and we are able to chat directly with the AI to make any change necessary to the overall landing page or even to a specific element or component. So in this context, I'm not entirely a fan of the captions that are appearing on our photos, so I'm going to ask the AI to remove that. Remove the captions that are appearing. Fantastic, and it's made that change. Next up, we have the DOM tree. Here we have the ability to see all the DOM elements, but also control and select all the layers, similar to a traditional design tool. And then we have our assets. Here's a collection of components that we can drag and drop directly into our storyboard. We have components with stories, we have components without stories. Dragging these in may or may not work, depending on if props are required. And below that, we have our icons that we can also drag in. For the sake of example, I might drag in a button component right into our hero section, and there it is. Now, if I wanted to change the positioning, the sizing, the styling, all of these options are here. Next up, we have our file selector. It's similar to VS Code that if you wanted to write code or collaborate with an engineer, you can do that right here. And this automatically toggles our code tab. For context, we have 3 tabs, one for PRD, one for design, and one for code. Here you can directly manipulate the code to change any specific part. We also have a terminal where you can also input your own terminal command. Next on the list, we have our Git settings. Here you would see all of the Git changes that have occurred during the session. To push these changes directly into GitHub, you will need to create a repository. So we can quickly go through and create one for this example. Real estate demo. Now that your repo has been created, when you meet meaningful checkpoints, you can enter a commit message and push this directly to GitHub. Nice. Next up, we have our history. This allows you to see all the different changes that have been made to your project over the course of the session, and also the direct changes to your code. So for this context, we can try moving our header, and notice that the change that it's caused within the actual history and also within the actual code. The next thing we have is a design system builder. If you are interested in creating storybook stories, you can follow the instructions and build directly in there. And lastly, we have Supabase. This is our backend integration. If you've never created any projects within Supabase, this is the screen that you will see. So make sure to create a project over on the Supabase side and then come back to connect it to Tempo. So just so you can see what that looks like, we can hop over to Supabase and create a project. New project. Real estate platform. Now that we have a project built on the Supabase side, we just need to authorize and connect it to the Tempo side. So we click authorize. When you see this screen, it means the organization has been connected, but we need to click on this for the project to be connected. So connect project. So it's now reloading the project, and just like that, now we've connected Supabase to our Tempo project. So now I would love to just show you some of our quick tools. We have an AI button, which is essentially a shortcut into our AI chat, but we're able to also click on a specific element or component and make a specific change to that individual element, as you can see. Next up, we have our select button. This is our standard mouse that you're familiar with, and you can click around. Now, by default, the select tool allows you to click on elements top down. In code, there are often more DOM elements than design, so you might find yourself tempted to click many times to access a deeper element. As such, but a useful shortcut is to hold down Command while selecting, and you are able to access the deepest element in the tree and navigate bottoms up. We also have a draw tool, similar to a drawing tool in a traditional design application. And we have our Insert Text tool, which allows you to insert text directly into the storyboard. You can change this to property listings. And using the Insert Text Options feature, you can change the type of text that you are bringing in. We can change this to for sale. In theory, we could even drag in the storyboard that we've just created directly into our landing page. So obviously, we would spend more time in building it, making it beautiful. But for example's sake, it is now embedded into our landing page. We have here our pan tool that you can use to pan the canvas. Whee! Say that we have a different tool toggled on, you can still toggle the pan tool by holding down the spacebar. Whee! Also, while we're here, you may have noticed our zoom options, but if you were to hold down Command and scroll with your mouse up and down, you are also able to toggle the zoom. Finally, we have a preview mode, which allows us to interact with our project as you would in production. Without it turned on, if I were to click around, this would only be affected as an element. But once I toggle preview mode on, I can type something directly into the input field, San Francisco, and actually click on the search button. Also, if you were to encounter any errors on your storyboard or components, you can turn on preview mode, copy the error message, and paste it directly into the AI chat. Now to quickly touch on the styling panel, it is in beta, but we're working to make it as intuitive as your favorite design tool. You're able to click on individual elements and make any stylistic modifications that you would like position, sizing, spacing, etc. For the sake of example, I will modify the search button, so Command click. So let's just say that we wanted to go through and change the border radius. And I can change it so that now the corners are more rounded. And that looks good. Say that I want the color to pop a little bit more. We can go through here and change that as well. All right, looks good. All right, so say now that I want to preview the project we just created, we can go about that two ways. We can either click this little preview in new tab or even the view app in new tab. And now we should be able to see a preview of our project that we just created. Looks pretty great. And say I like how everything looks and I'm ready to deploy. I would go back to our Tempo application and one-click deploy, click share, and then deploy. And essentially, if there are any errors during deployment, I can just copy the error logs and paste it right back into the chat. Alright, seems like it went smoothly, just like that our project is now deployed. But let's just say this landing page was part of a larger project and we wanted to build out a new feature. We can just click on the Tempo logo, and it will take us directly to this Kanban board. I'm pretty happy with the design of the landing page, so I would move it from the backlog to be reviewed, and then I can just create a new feature to be made. And that should be enough for you to get started. We're excited to see what you build.